Okay, so let's get started. So today I'd like to present an overview of the mentorship program. This is something we had started uh, about a year ago. And so people who have been in the program, I know this might be a repetition or you're already familiar with it. So I'll breeze through some of the slides, but for the new folks, I'll still go through it. And yeah, so there's two goals we have today, agenda. So do an overview and the intro for our new mentors. And then in the second half, have a more open discussion or a guided discussion on some questions about mentorship and what has worked and what has not. This is particularly, I think, for some of the newer mentors, useful for them because there's some mentors from recent batches also. So what we are trying to do is help students and help guide them or provide them some guidance on the many questions they have. Most of the questions are related to career options, uh, like more immediate what's going to happen in the next year or two after they graduate. There are also some students who struggle with some issues like maybe academics or dealing with communication issues or so we try to help students, and as mentors we bring our experiences from our journey, including we have seen many ups and downs, so we have a longer term perspective. So we started this program, a few of us, early last year, and the goal is to connect students and alumni with the goals to help the students grow not only in their technical careers but also as overall human beings. And we provide then also one of the goals is to provide all the infrastructure to do the matching and so on, and evaluation of how the program is going. So we ran the first batch last year. We were lucky that 130 mentors signed up. This was way beyond what we had planned or started out with. So with the help, some help from Rootkey, excuse me. Hey Karan, welcome. So
Hi,
with
sir.
some help from hi, some help from Rootkey, we got this started last year, and we had some excellent feedback from students about how it's helping them think about what they want to do and how they can achieve that. Um, these are some of the backgrounds of or interests of mentors. Of course, there's engineering, but a whole diverse range of different backgrounds, including product research, business, and entrepreneurship, and so on. So it's really a very eclectic group. The other thing is this a cross batch effort. So we have mentors going back to 66, two more recent batches, and quite a few folks from my batch as well, 89. We have this is just a sample of some of the mentors to highlight the fact that people are from different professions, different areas of the world, and different age groups. So just to highlight that we really have a very diverse set of mentors. So now we will jump into um, some of the nuts and bolts of the matching and so on. So any questions so far from new folks? Okay, so we'll have time for discussion later. Um, so the what we did now, we have started the second batch. which was started in February. And we built a website where we keep the profiles both for the mentors and mentees, and the mentees can then search for the mentor profiles. So what happens is I'll walk you through this step by step. The students sign up, so they sign up directly at the website. They have a profile. They fill up some information about their long-term, short-term goals, and at that point, they can also look at all the mentors. So they can browse the mentors, and what we have asked the students to do is pick up to three mentors who they would like to connect with. So they will connect with one eventually, but they can give three alternatives. Once they have done that, we email these requests to the mentors. Now, mentors on the other side, they have signed up to the Google form. We import that data into the website. So we keep this manual step because we want to make sure that whoever is signing up as a mentor, there's some validation that they are like not any random person can sign up. So there's a manual step here. The mentor, once that's done, then the mentor can log in. They have to validate their email and they can log into the website. Once you log in, you can then update your profile and browse through the mentee profiles. So currently, what we have is you can browse through all of them. Uh, so these matching requests are emailed to mentors, and then the mentors then select this one or more students using a phone. Once that's done, then we send out the intro emails. Uh, and after the intros, then there is we wanted to last it the mentoring to be over a semester. The reason for doing one semester is it gives us enough time for the mentor and mentee to know each other, work on some things, common things. But it also, one of the things we want to do is also open the program to multiple students. So every 6 months, we rotate the students and new students can sign up. Of course, it's up to the mentors if they want to continue the relationship longer. So it's completely up to the mentor. So this is one comment about this is that still this is a work in progress. The website is completely developed by volunteers. Karan is one of them. Uh, so there are still work in progress things to be built. So over time, we hope to build more and more process on the website itself. So it's very important to be on the platform, and things will become smoother as more things happen on the platform. Right now, we have to some things happen on the platform, some happen with forms, some with emails. So those things will eventually happen to the platform. So once the introductions happen, then we expect the relationship over a semester and maybe a meeting every other week. So the mentor, the commitment is about 1 or 2 hours every 2 weeks. Uh, Now, what happens in those meetings is completely is so we have a framework for it and a handbook. So if you are starting new or need a direction, you can use these. Basically, you first agree on what the goals of the mentoring are. What does the student want to get out of it? And then from there, you can develop the relationship, talking about their strengths and weaknesses, uh, how that relates to the career they want to pursue, how they can prepare for that career, talking about some of the life skills that are important, like communication skills and writing skills, and others that will help them longer term. So this is the general structure we want to follow, but it might happen. that you get into the first meeting and discover more things about the mentee. And at that point, the mentee either is very motivated, then you tailor the discussion according to that, or they might be clueless, or they might need more help in one area or the other. So you can tailor the meetings. This is one of the guidelines. So we also do the same presentation to the mentees, and so we set the expectation that the relationship has to be driven by the mentee. They have to come prepared before the meetings, come prepared with questions and topics, be open and honest, and respect mentors' time and confidentiality. And the same thing on the other side for mentors also. Our role is to create a supportive and a safe environment for discussion. And I think sometimes as we are going through this, we find that mentees are shy, or they might not be so forthcoming. So in that case, it's our job to take charge and make sure that the meetings are set up, that they are asking the right questions. And one very important thing is to not solve their problems, but ask the questions so that they can next time they can arrive at the answers themselves. For a few requests for all participants. So we do want to keep a very like a high quality bar and a good culture in this program. So uh, keep a honest and a good faith relationship, and please respect confidentiality at all times. This is highly important. There are many students, they'll share their life stories, or even mentors might share something about themselves, or what they're struggling with. So this is, I think, the bedrock of our program. One final thing is, I think this is a program we do want it to grow and sustain it over longer term. So there are many opportunities where you can contribute. It helps bring in new ideas, and also, I guess, it makes it more sustainable. As more people are involved, we can sustain it for many years. And I'll just highlight one or two. So, for example, the mentoring platform was built by Karan. He led that effort, and a few others entirely in their in their spare time. And there are many things to be done there. So, if you want to contribute, there's things to be done. Starting from the matching algorithm to the systems itself, and even the designing the UI. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. I'll mention a few other things that are in the pipeline but not yet fully done. Or see, okay. Hi, Hemant. Um,
Hi, sir.
so yeah, I was just giving an overview of the program, and then we'll get into open discussion pretty soon.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, so we have talked about doing mentoring for especially for entrepreneurs. So that's through the Tides initiative at Roorkee. So there have been some initial discussions, but this needs to be developed. Um, there is information about group mentoring, so or special interests, so about entrepreneurship or further studies, academics. So these are all special interests or preparing for civil services. That could be done in a more of a group mentoring setting. So those things also we would like to develop over time. Currently, most of our activities are one-on-one mentoring. So if you're interested in any of these, do reach out to me. I'd really appreciate that. So we started the second batch not too long ago, few weeks ago. There are about 95 mentors this time, 70 who are continuing from the previous time, plus about 25 who signed up new. There are about 120 students who are engaged. Actually, the number of profiles is much higher, but if you see the completed profiles, it's about 120 to 130, of which about 114 are already matched and people have started. So there is, I think, only a few more students who need to be matched. So we might not be able to match all the new mentors, but there are other ways to contribute, as we said earlier, and then there will be new batches as well. So with this, we'll go into the second half. But before that, any questions on this part, specifically from new folks? All right. We can then get into the second half of the discussion, which is more about knowledge sharing among mentors. And some of the folks have asked for this to share what's working, what's not working. Before we get there, I really want to thank everyone for taking their valuable time to help students. I think this is a hole in their education which they're not getting currently. So, bringing our experience and helping them develop is really has a long-lasting effect and much appreciated by the students. So thank you so much. Um, okay, so with that, we'll get into the second half. Now, the way I would like to do this is pose a question and then open it up for discussion. Um, People can bring in their perspectives and just be mindful to keep your answers concise and give everyone a chance to speak. Um, so let's and there are folks who have a lot of experience with mentoring. So I think yeah, Karan. So we are recording the presentation. So yeah, I started the presentation. Sorry, recording earlier. So with that, I'll pose this first question to Partha, and then we can open it up to others also. So, what makes a successful mentor? Partha, can you
Can
hear
you hear
us?
me?
Yeah.
Okay, so bear with me. I'm looking through my laptop, but talking through my phone because somehow I'm not able to pick up from the laptop the sound.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good, good question. Wasn't prepared for this. What makes a successful mentor? I think in very short words, everyone knows that I'm not a man of few words, so it's going to be a struggle. I would think a successful mentor is who consciously and unconsciously or subconsciously puts the mentee's interests and personality before him or herself, because when they do so, and it takes a lot of practice because normally we are always amongst our friends and family members, spending all our life trying to give advice and take advice, but not listen, and that has dissipated, over the years we have lost our ability to listen to people or hear them out properly. So if we can, it's counterintuitive. If we get into practice the habit of putting their interest in mind and not, what we think is right for them, but trying to get them to figure out and give them direction towards their career goals or their problems. I think that will be the single most important trait behind a successful mentor.
Thanks, Partha. That's really important to think of. that we are doing this for the mentees' benefit, and I almost think sometimes think of them as customers. Um, any other perspectives? Any other folks want to add to this?
In my view, the relation between the mentor and mentee should be a friendly relation. It should not be like uh, forcing something on the mentee. It should be open and frank, and uh, mentors should always advise or should not, in fact, advise. It should be like, again, I repeat, open and frank and honest relationship between the two.
Yeah.
And mentor should have diverse knowledge because mentee can ask anything, right? From not only his career, he can ask anything like politics, economics, and all. So mentor should have wide range of knowledge just to guide mentee in all direction.
Yeah, and I think in general, as I read more about mentoring, it's also that the mentors learn from the mentees. So, as students, I feel that I learned something from the mentees as well.
Yeah, it is two way.
Yeah, it's a two-way relationship.
Yeah.
Any other perspectives?
Yeah, Kiran, Rajiv here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so following on my experience both as a mentor, also as a mentee, because sometime over time I had an opportunity to work with few people. So I remember good mentors were those who helped me to actually identify the blind spot. Now, it's very easy for us to say, I want to improve in this, and mentor can also give his or her opinion. But I felt happy, and I remember those who actually went a layer below, okay, and helped me identify the spots which maybe I was not so well aware of, but over time as they unfurled, it actually helped me in different ways. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's my 2 cent. Thank you.
Okay, nice. So how you're continuing to mentor, right? So how are you helping your mentees identify their blind spots?
Yeah, so I have two mentees from the first batch. We still continue to engage.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm not, let's say, reached that stage where I can say I am in that league which I remember some of my mentors in the past. But again, effort is try to ask sometime a question like why, okay? Because many time mentees are saying this is a like a program I want to join, this is I want to pursue, something like that. So sometime a question of why help them to check the next levels, and is it more of a peer pressure they want to do, is it more that it looks glamorous,
Hmm.
or have they really understood why they want to take certain things forward? So I'm also learning in the process, but this I believe helps me at least to figure out something.
Yeah, I
So,
think.
Kiran, just one thing
Sure, go ahead.
connecting what I said to what Rajiv said. I can share with you what I do is listening doesn't mean you're not probing. So what I use is the tool or technique which is quite known to everyone, but not maybe all mentees, is the five whys
Hmm.
technique. So every time they say something, I just go into why this happened, why that happened at least five times. Normally, psychologically, it said that by the end of fourth or fifth why that you come in, you're actually able to discover for the mentee that what exactly is the root cause of any issue.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. Is you keep asking why, and you get to the sort of the layers, as Rajiv was saying. Other thing also, I think we see mentees being influenced by the latest trends, like what where the highest salaries are, or what people are doing now, and that might be, I think, maybe good for the short term, but longer term you have to consider other alternatives also, not what's hot now.
Yeah,
Any
Kiran, I
other?
think
Yeah, Anirudh.
Yeah, yeah. So there, yeah. So what I feel, I had interacted with my mentee. She's a second year BTech civil engineering,
Uh-huh.
and the way I started is to know what is actually current status of Roorkee. That is how I have more or less broken the ice.
Mhm.
A lot of new things are there which I was not knowing. In our times, probably that was only one Sarojini Bhavan. Now there is another one which has come up, and she was very shy. And over first meeting was more or less probing because she was not coming out
Mhm.
very clearly. But second meeting, and then I started to chat with her in WhatsApp, and then I found her to be very she was like feeling free to talk.
Mhm.
And uh, so that comfort level, now after the second meeting, it has been very good now. First aspect is that people who are shy, they don't come out. You ask 20 questions, they may not respond, or they may respond in one or two words. And it's like judging each other. So there are open questions and there are closed questions. So I started opening up with the families, and then she opened up because that was something which I think very close to her heart, and she, more than the professional thing, she was more familiar with the personal aspect.
Sure.
So she opened up in a great detail, and then I asked about her aspirations,
Mhm.
and she made it very clear that as a lady, as a girl student, and I know I was amazed to see the clarity which they keep it in their mind. That they would like to complete the studies, they would like to get into a government job, she would like to get married at 26.
Mhm.
So the milestones are so clear. I was amazed, you know, and and then the probing started in the way like Partha was telling, no, that listen first, and then eventually what has happened. So at this stage it is very important to have the skill building, because second year student you cannot tell you go this or that. Skill building. So government job, I told, why do you want the government job? He's telling, actually the payments are very high, salaries are very high. And I found there may be a myth, you know so I told, okay, which are the areas you, so like that. She has now opened up a lot,
Mhm.
and I feel what I require from the group, probably there is a need for what has already been identified is a good communication skill. So she is good in her written capabilities, very nice. Oral part, the verbal communication, if there is some session which can be conducted by a group wherein the mentors and mentees can join, I think we can learn a lot. You know, I
Sure.
can give my field, but I think there may be more structured way to provide these communication skill sessions where all
Mhm.
of us can benefit. So
Yeah.
these are my initial thoughts, and so far it's nice going.
Nice. So I think that taking the time to learn to know your mentee is, I think,
Very
and
important.
yeah.
Like the way I tell, she's interested that she will not get into field job even in a civil engineering. Very clear.
Mhm.
So she does not want to go to a dam site or a tunnel site or to do the construction work and things like that. She wants a lab work.
Okay.
It is like probing, very important that, okay, tell me which are the softwares you would be inclined to.
Mhm.
So she has given me a laundry list of 32 softwares, from different OEMs. Now it is my area. No, it's very nice to introduce them that, what are the things they should learn and what kind of opening. So I think it will take a long way.
Mhm.
Initially, we can break it through, but yes, so
Okay.
far so good.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Um,
Yeah, Karan,
Sir,
go ahead.
one thing that I would like to, I don't know, maybe this is a digression, but this was a nice topic that Anirudh touched upon. How do we break ice with mentees? How do we get them more comfortable with us? if
Mhm.
the more experienced mentors could probably share their stories like Anuruddh did, um, that
Okay.
might help
Yeah,
the younger
that's a
mentors.
good topic. So maybe someone else would like to add their thoughts as well. Can I call on you, Alok?
Yeah, yes, indeed. I mean, I think most of it has been said, but I think there comes a point where also sometimes it's about managing expectations. So, I mean, in my conversations with my mentees, it came to a point where they were asking me to find them internships, etc. And I mean, although that's nothing wrong with that, but I thought that that was going beyond a mentor-mentee relationship, in my opinion, as a form of this exercise to get them into internship, find them a job, and this thing. There
Mhm.
are other mechanisms and channels for that. So it is. I think that where we draw that boundary is perhaps also one of the issues that we should identify. Other thing which I found is that I had one mentee previously, and I had one mentee this time. Now I've been matched. Both of them have, I think that they come from rural areas in Rajasthan, and
Mhm.
they have difficulty with English. So I encourage them to speak in Hindi, but uh, they feel awkward speaking in Hindi for some reason. I do not know why. They want to keep doing it in English, and I know they're not able to express themselves. And so this whole process, I do not know what is this language issue, which I'm not able to break that barrier, because they both want to speak in English, which is fine, and I don't discourage that. But I know they're not able to express themselves in that language. And obviously, another issue was that this guy who was from Seeker last year, he had telecommunication issues. He in his village, wherever he was, he was not able to get the internet. So many of the meetings we fixed, we couldn't connect, and it was those issues, those challenges are unfortunately difficult to handle.
Yeah, yeah,
So
especially
that's but
yeah,
generally
especially I
I
think
think
with
it has been. Yeah,
especially with work from home and like
yeah,
if you're in a remote area, then either yeah, it's sometimes people
yeah,
rely on mobile data, so which is
correct.
not great.
And second year students are not back in campus yet, so
Hmm.
that's the reason.
Yeah, yeah.
So so
So
both.
I had
Yeah,
sorry. So I
yeah,
had
yeah, carry on.
so today I had I think with my mentee I asked them like their strengths and weaknesses, and I also asked them to do an online evaluation. So there are many tools online. So I just asked them like even without that, what's your own assessment of what your strengths and weaknesses are? And that broke a lot of ice because I think they started talking about things they enjoy and then I probed some more about give me more examples of this or if then they were of course very happy to mention the strengths, but weaknesses were took more probing. So I think this is another probably a way to break the ice as well.
Yeah, that
Any
was
okay. So actually, I want to touch on one question that came up a little bit earlier. So my mentee asked me, what can he do to prepare for working life for corporate careers? And so the things that they immediately do are things like they are preparing for a programming contest or online, so that's almost like an entrance exam for the job. But what can they do now so that they will be more successful when they enter the workforce? So I would like to hear what you guys think about this.
In my opinion, Kiran, this is an inevitable question. I think every mentee would like to get some career advice, in my
Hmm.
opinion. So, uh, and obviously that is where this whole probing starts with them. So one of my mentees, she obviously has a lot of big career plans. She also had a lot of grudges, if you like, because she said a lot of startup work that she did, somebody in the university stole it from him. One senior stole it from him, her. So I don't know about those issues, and I really I encouraged her not to get into, hung up into two things, things like these. But I wanted her to also put her ideas into proper form, and construct it end to end, before going out and starting to put it into public domain. But as an entrepreneur, she was also asking me whether she should quit her engineering and do the financial management course or MBA or something like that. And it was a hard one for me to advise on. And my personal advice to her was that, you don't have to quit engineering to learn finance. You can always just do either internships, and I'm as I know, you Roorkee now offers courses in finance. And I said, why don't you just take some courses in finance? There are a lot of online material available. Learn those things, and you don't have to quit just to go in there. So obviously that there are a lot of those stages which are very
Hmm.
delicate, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to advise on those issues.
Yeah. I
Alok,
think.
But
sorry, Kiran,
yeah,
can I just add
Go
something
ahead,
here?
Sat.
Alok,
Yeah.
what you did was absolutely very important. When people ask us who have been doing mentoring for a long time, they ask us what is the do's and don'ts. This is the don't that every mentor has to be very careful about. That I'll give you a specific example. The first batch, I had one guy, and a girl. The girl, she went through the whole process, and she says that she benefited enormously, and that's why she made sure the second batch, her roommate from first year, she convinced her to come into this, who was very shy and wasn't sure, and said that if you don't like the experience, then I will take you out for dinner. So that was the bride. The guy, on the other hand, he's actually was a civil engineer, and what he wanted basically was he wanted to leave the line of civil engineering and get into MBA. Fair enough. But the thing is, he basically wanted me to, you know, say exactly what he wanted to do anyway. And he tried his level best to influence me, but I'm obviously a different kettle of fish, and I was not prepared, because I told him I do not understand enough of you, and it's too risky for me to give a career guidance of this kind where you're going to leave civil engineering. And I almost, a prime example that I almost left it like Anand and Charlene, but I didn't, and I fought for it. So the thing is, we have to be very careful that we don't play into some of the the emotional things that mentees can, and they do it unconsciously. They just want someone to reinforce what they want to do, and not and then blame it on someone else. So that's an important thing what Alok said. Don't ever, in 3 months or 4 meetings, you cannot basically tell what's a career choice or career change choice for anyone. It's too risky. You won't do it for your own children, so why do it for someone else?
All right. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I was also thinking about some specific things, maybe some more. For example, for my mentee, I asked him like what he liked to do, and he said he used to take part in quizzes and lots of contests when he was in high school, but in um, Roorkee is not doing that. So as a way to like increase their speaking skills, encouraged him to take part in some cultural activities. And so are there other, this comes back to the communication skill that was brought up earlier. So how do they, what do they do specifically in the university to increase their communication skills?
Kiran, Rajiv here. One
Yeah.
more thing, maybe to add to your earlier question, and maybe also in a small way contributing to the second one. See, all of us having spent time outside, we also do a lot of reading. Okay,
Hmm.
so one thing which my mentees didn't ask for it, but I had read recently a very good book, general about work-life balance and all those kind of stuff. There are umpteen number of stuff available online. So intuitively, I just emailed it a copy of that to both my mentees. Okay,
Hmm.
to say that I enjoyed it. It's very light, easy reading. You may go through it at your free time. And one of them did revert back after some time. So said, thank you very much. I was looking for a good book. You have, helped me pick one. So maybe there are some, good publications or some good books or some articles, which also somebody at their free leisure time can browse through and pick up. Even if there are 3 points to come out of that, I think it helps.
Mhm. Thanks, Rajiv. So actually, I would like to at this point see if any of the other folks have questions they want to discuss instead of me asking questions.
One question I have. I
Yes.
also had a feeling, and this is having three kids of my own, and who are all now gone through that process and now graduated and stuff. But the question was that you know where is the line between a mentor and being their parents? Because a lot of questions that come, they are very maybe it's the age thing, but those answers should be actually provided by their parents and not by the mentors. Mentors' role is to guide, not to answer very specific questions about their career. So I think that's a line which is very hard to draw or answer for me. Generally, in those, I mean, I can tell my kids in a very definitive terms what they can do, but should I? Can I do that with my mentees? And that is where. Uh, I do not know. It became a little hard for me. I do not know whether
Hmm.
others experienced that way, but
If you don't mind, if it's not personal, so what kind of questions were those? Like
I
one
mean,
or two
questions
examples.
like, I mean, this thing was whether I should quit engineering, for example.
Yeah.
And I thought that was not an answer I should be giving. That should an answer that probably she should be asking her parents or her family. Not
Mhm.
exactly as a. It's not a mentor question. That was one. Second was having some personal issues in university. This thing about this senior stealing something stuff, and I found a little hard to answer those questions or how I can handle those particular aspects because I don't think I knew much about it or I had enough knowledge. And when I started probing, I thought I found there was a bit of a discomfort, but somewhere somehow I had to stop that topic and I said, yeah, you have to just move on from that point. And that was the kind. I know probably that was not a satisfactory answer, but
Mhm.
that was a difficult one for me again. So sometimes when it becomes a bit of a personal agenda, personal issue, I do not know how to handle that situation, and to what extent, whether as a mentor we should keep an arm's length or whether we should get very heavily involved with the mentees.
Yeah, I would like to hear other folks what they think.
Can I step in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Arthur.
Alok, yeah. By the way, people of different batches who don't know us, me and Alok used to be on the same bench in our 4 years of classes, exactly the
Yes,
same distance from the blackboard.
yes,
Okay,
and we were
so
always competing with each other.
absolutely towards the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. so, so, two things you mentioned actually. When you didn't mention the examples, you said personal. I can answer that very easily because I have consulted people who have been doing this mentoring like professionally. So the answer is very simple. You cannot get personal. One of the biggest important things for a mentor is to be emotionally detached. You
Hmm.
cannot be emotionally involved with a mentee, and the risk is quite high. And that's the reason why they say it's always better to disconnect 6 month, 8 month, 9 month, or 12 months mentoring, and then they can always call you for different kinds of issues, but not structured mentoring. You should not do that because it's very risky to get emotionally involved, because you're just taking a small little picture and trying to extrapolate it, not knowing exactly what is happening in that person's life. So That I can tell you is not my saying; it's my learning. And if you just Google up, you'll find every time they say do not get emotionally involved. It's not only bad for you, including your reputation, but it's also important, from the safety of that person. Even if you are way away from each other, so it can be quite risky. But the second thing that you mentioned when you started talking about the examples, I don't think, it's a personal question. It's a very important question, and I have been asked this from my first mentor also, and I think the second mentor is also heading that way. And why I think it's not a personal question is because this is something which the parents should never advise, because they are always going to take conservative views on what career you should be taking, and also they are trying to most of the time live their own unfulfilled aspirations through their children, and so they are not the right people, and they're also emotionally based. What I do, I mean, I'm not saying the best way. I don't know. I can only tell you what I did was, in this instance, it had nothing to do with my background. It was someone who applied maths, brilliant student, and who was doing machine learning. And within 1 month, she said, I don't get the fun. I'm not enjoying it, and I want to leave it. And then I realized, someone with a high maths background, going away from a thing like machine learning in just a month is something wrong. Is completely wrong, because she's the only one who has done STEM in her family, of Marwadis. She's the only one who has stepped out of the house to go for university education. She's the only one who has done maths and science in her life. And within a month, she's able to wanting to give up. So what I did was very clearly, I said that you need to stop. You need to basically, give something a chance. If you don't give something a chance, and if you don't evaluate what is the thing which is holding you back from completing things, then you'll get the answer. And I said just give it week, and next week we'll talk about giving you one more week. And after 2 to 3 weeks, she just came back to me and she said, I have actually started talking to myself and reflecting, and I just realized what a blunder I was about to make. And thanks, you didn't give me anything, in terms of is it the right thing for me, because I'm a civil structural engineer. I have no idea about, I know, but not as much as some of the guys like Kiran and others know about machine learning and other things. But what you told me is you gave me a chance for me to basically contemplate what am I doing, what do I want in life. And then I realized that if this is going to be bad for me after 6 months of trying, then I'll leave it. And that worked. And I heaved a sigh of relief. I don't know if that helps you.
Yeah, just one comment from my side. Alok, my opinion is slightly different. I think some of the mentees may look upon mentor as somebody senior, maybe more knowledgeable and hopefully more successful in life. And some of the questions that they may pose, they may not be comfortable in posing them to their parents or their other elders who are available in the system. Okay, so it is. Uh, and I think that's a sign of trust that the mentee is able to put across certain questions like that. If we kind of brush it away, it might guide them to somebody else who may or may not be so qualified or may not have that kind of a best interest. Now, in our case, we don't know much. At the end of the day, these sessions are happening, once a while, but some directional support, some directional guidance to say you can look into this or explore that kind of a stuff may guide them to the next possible steps. It may not be a decision making process, but I think uh, by our age, we are in that parental age group. We may not, we may have to do a fine line where we give a decision making advice, or we may give a directional advice. But it has not come to me, but I would tend to, kind of take on that question, and I would tend to give what I believe, with my limited knowledge, is the next best option to think it over or probe it over, but not brush it aside. But that's my take. Thanks.
Thanks, Rajiv. I think my take is also comes back to some of the earlier discussion we had, is to ask the whys and why they want to take a decision. So that, and also acting in the best interest of the mentee. So it might be a decision that the mentee wants to take, which their parents or their teachers might not agree with, but it might be a decision that's good for the mentee. So I think that keeping that in mind, which they won't get the perspective anywhere else, which Rajiv also reinforced. Um, so yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, thanks everyone, and I think that's a good perspective. Both, I think I understand where Partha is coming from and where Rajiv is coming from, but I mean, it's a sometimes I would just say in retrospect. Of course, I asked them to look at options that are available in the university and not take such a risky decision. But I think you have to be so even though let's say my mind and you know the kind of person I am, I'm more of a risk taker person, you know, and more entrepreneurial. I personally I would have said, yeah, quit it and just go ahead and do what you want to do in your life. But that certainly I can't tell it to her, who I know very little about. Right, so it cannot be, you know, a reflection. So that is where I think I found a little bit of a hesitation, because my normal instincts were different than what I wanted to tell her.
Yeah, that's yeah.
But Alok, what you said, what you did was the right thing. I'm endorsing. I
Yeah.
personally, I think you've done the right thing. But picking up from what Rajiv said, it's not always life is black and white. Either take this or that. What he said is what I also do. That I do not shy. I don't push them away. What I say is, let's ask some probing questions. Let's help you find, your decision. Decision has to be owned by you, not by me, not by your parents. You are responsible for your own decision, and I can be helping you in being a pathfinder by asking questions, by telling you things. You try to answer those five whys or whatever, and you have to find
Hmm.
the decision. But I'm happy to be a pathfinder in a safe zone where I'm not worried about risks, I'm not worried about emotions. And it's a very difficult thing, but when I do that, I don't place that person, that mentor or mentee, as my son or a daughter. Moment I do that, I'm exactly becoming a parent. Then
Yeah.
I won't take a decision. Don't do this, don't do that, and all that. So
Mm.
Very true. Very true.
you have to basically, that's the reason why there are, a lot of experts, not me or you or anyone says that do not become emotionally involved, because that will cloud the advice you'll give them.
Agree.
Aniruddha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are almost out of time. Um, any final thoughts, or maybe we can do one more question if people have time.
Kiran, will you put that slide up again one more time?
Yeah, sure.
Do we want to talk about group mentoring?
We can. Um, I think that's come up in the context of uh, because there's these special interest areas like entrepreneurship or civil services, where maybe talking it out in a group is more beneficial to the students. So we can yeah spend a few minutes on this. Anyone has experience with group mentoring? So yeah, so when I started this program, I think we had this debate among ourselves, whether we do one-on-one or we also have some group sessions. Um, I think the one-on-one setting is the best for sort of having a confidential environment where people can open up. Uh, but group mentoring also has this good property that as you listen to other people, new thoughts come up. So just like we are doing here in a group session, asking each other questions and discussing. So new perspectives and new thoughts come up, which wouldn't have been possible if you were talking one on one. So this was the thoughts where why we had thought about starting some group sessions on specific topics. So anyone has comments on that or any perspectives? Alok, is that what you wanted to cover, or did you have different questions?
No, no, I wanted to ask this because one thing, this is, things like entrepreneurship, and I
Mhm.
think those are better if we have a group mentoring session for those. And let's say, because I think that question comes again and again in our one-to-one kind of discussions, and we
Mhm.
do provide a little bit of a guidance there as far as we know or we can. But a group mentoring session for answering some of the general questions would be useful in those areas. So let's say
Yeah.
so I face this entrepreneurship question, how startups, and so I know little about startups. So I really can't, and I ask them to do some research, look at internet, look at this and that, and I also asked a few people around and tried to answer those questions. But it is hard for me to answer directly how to launch a startup, Series A funding, Series B funding kind of thing. And I think good to have those group mentoring session where, because these are standard processes.
Hmm.
They don't really change from those are not mentor dependent issues. So I do not know whether I personally think those group mentoring session would be useful, and if we can direct them to, and we can say yes, there will be a group mentoring session on startup. So if you want to join in there.
Yeah. I think one benefit also is the knowledge sharing or multiple mentors bringing in their perspective. So you might be an entrepreneur in your way, and then there are entrepreneurs in the tech world who are more familiar with the Series A and so on. So when you bring multiple mentors together, I think the sum is more than the parts.
Yeah.
Kiran, Rajiv here. I personally I don't have an experience in this area, but I'm just thinking this subject in a slightly wider perspective,
Mhm.
whereby many people are trying to gain knowledge in one particular area. And since we have a big diverse group of mentors and many of them with many, let's say, specialities or competencies, can this also be explored in terms of some skill development? To say that somebody mentioned about communication skill, somebody else mentioned about a written skill, maybe there will be five other things. Can we within the mentor system, pick up to say who feel he or she is good in communication skill, and can he or she take a session with the mentees? It's
Yeah.
like a knowledge sharing. It may not be a perfect session, but I still believe, in a 1 hour session, even if you pick up three good points, that's a good takeaway. There
Yeah.
could be somebody who's good in time management. Okay,
Mhm.
today, tomorrow, there'll be work-life balance. Ask that question.
Right.
So, hearing from people who are practicing it, having a
Mm.
chance to converse, throw up the questions, may also help to remove some of the clouds on some common subjects, which might be of interest to a larger population. It may
Yeah.
not be only in terms of entrepreneurship, but as I said, it could touch upon the softer aspect of competency. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think this would be very useful to students. It's something we have been wanting to do, but just haven't gotten around to it. Um, any final thoughts? Anyone who hasn't spoken yet want to say something?
Yeah, hi. I have a question. Maybe someone can respond.
Yeah.
In initial mentorship meetings, they go well. But then, like my mentees have asked questions like, I want to pursue higher studies, and how do I do that? And I guide them like in one meetings or two meetings. But then, it's a long process, so we like it gets boring also after some time.
Mm.
Basically, they have a few questions. I can guide them about GRE and higher studies and all that. So my question is, how to take the mentorship forward from there, where we don't have much questions to address. Um, I'm not sure whether I'm pushing the mentee to have meetings with me like every 2 weeks. I'm not sure what to address.
Yeah, that's a good question. Anyone wants to take that?
I can, add in.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone else wanted to go first.
No, go ahead, Partha. It's okay.
Okay. Hemant, if you ask me, my perspective is that the mentoring objective in this particular instance started with a very narrow premise. And that's where I think the problem lies, is that it is really not a mentoring objective that how do I do higher studies. And if there are other things enveloping that, and that makes it a proper mentoring objective. The problem that you're facing is that how to do higher studies is basically a process flow that you have to explain, and you can even guide them to something else, a resource. But you can't take this as a mentoring process, because it's a process, a knowledge of a process that you have to make them available. But it's very narrow from a mentoring perspective. That's why you would struggle to take it even beyond the second session.
Yeah, I think so. I'll add my 2 cents. Sorry, Alok, you go first.
No, no. So generally, my view on this one is that instead of again being very prescriptive on what they do, my view would be to ask them to do, and you be the bouncing or sounding board for them. So every time they ask you something about, let's say, this GRE process, that you tell them. Instead, I would ask them, you find out how you can, go into this process. What are the things you have to do? What kind of GPAs you would need? What kind of SOPs and that you have to prepare. Do some research, come back to me, and I will then work as a sounding board for you. And I think
Hmm.
that process, in my opinion, would be more like a mentorship role, rather than being very prescriptive and giving them step 1, 2, 3, 4, because then in my opinion, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think even in application, there are so many decisions to be made, and if you can help the mentees make those decisions, and they might be, yeah, longer term considerations that they haven't thought about. So um, I had another, yeah, sorry. One approach also is that you can also guide the discussion towards other things like have they thought about uh, they're improving their communication skills, or what do they enjoy doing, why do they do it. So you can also lead them a path which is away from this discussion. If now again it depends on the mentee how much they want to learn and how willing they are. But if it comes down to very narrowly defined, like Partha said, that this is my goal and this is what I'm going to do, then I think at some point you have to say, okay, so this is so much I can help you, and then maybe you have to stop at some point if there's no productive communication happening.
But Kiran, what Hemant can do is Hemant can distinguish very clearly to the mentee that I'm asking you what are your objectives, what are your goals. To do higher studies cannot be a goal. It can be basically a step towards reaching that goal. But tell me what is your goal,
Hmm.
and should drive that. And then they can say, that no, that's it. I just want, my goal is to basically do higher studies, and then he can guide her or him towards the steps, and also ask the questions that others said, that to give them more insight into reaching that process. But they have to, even if they are able to make it clear to the mentee that what you are saying is you're mixing up goals and objectives with the process, that will itself be an eye opener for them.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Kiran, just to add, it's a very relevant question, and I think the result or the thing comes with time. One thing which can be encouraged is to move beyond an event, like applying for something is an event, but mentoring can be more supported for a skill development. which actually helps them to evolve. Today they are talking of, let's say, higher education. Tomorrow they might be talking of getting into a job. So how does somebody make a decision? What are the aspects into that side? Now, if ultimate the gain to the mentees when they practice it, I don't think so. The gain to the mentees to get an answer between A, B, or C option, that they can get from too many things, and there's ample thing on Google. What a mentor can support is a response which a mentee, if he or she can practice and help them, become, let's say, a better student or a manager or whatever in future. Now that is what is going to stay, and I think that is the experience which mentee is going to remember for a longer period of time, than a response to a specific query. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, Rai.
Thank you, everyone. That was all great answers. Um, I was also, um, yeah, as maybe I don't have actually. I'm also probably more lacking in mentorship myself. Probably, and things will improve with time. Um, but from all of you, one thing that I've learned is that I personally have to learn many things. Like SWOT analysis was pointed out in the WhatsApp group by some people, and EQ is also another area where I think I need to learn a lot myself and then introduce mentees to that. So I think also like some of the perspectives that you have. I basically want to learn more about like what things are that it's things like I don't know what I don't know. So maybe like we run out of conversation starters and those areas where I can need. So maybe if like you all can maybe share some of those key points where like we where like I can talk to mentees about, so like EQ and SWOT analysis and all those things, maybe in the WhatsApp group, maybe not here, or if you have time.
Cool. All right, yeah, so we can spend hours talking about this. So I think we have to stop here. Thanks all for joining and sharing your insights. I think it was really valuable even for me to hear all the different perspectives. Cool. And thanks
Great.
again for the mentoring. It's I think it makes a big difference.
Thanks, Kiran. You are the
Yes.
fulcrum of all this activity. We would
Yeah,
have been doing our own stuff on Sunday morning. It's you who brings us on this platform.
Yeah. No,
thanks.
Thanks,
thanks,
Kiran.
Kiran.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. And happy Holi, everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
happy
happy
Holi.
Holi.
Yes, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, happy
Stay
Holi,
Yeah,
safe.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Don't
see
get
you.
too
Bye bye.
excited on this Holi. Yeah.
Australia is fine, Alok.
Well, Hong Kong is fine too.